simple dress. And for this video, I'll be using the fabric, tape, scissors, and my chalk. So this is exactly the dress I'll be making here. This dress here. So it's just a simple dress with a little flare at the sleeve and then a slit right in front. So let's get into the video. So guys, the first thing I did was to go ahead and fold my fabric into like the part I'm going to be using, which is from here to here. So the first thing I'm going to be cutting is the front part of this dress, and so check is the widest part of this fabric, which is the hip, is the widest part of the body that I'm working on with this fabric. So that will be 40, the widest part of the person. So that will be 40, and 40 by 2 is 40 by 4, that will be 10. So the next thing I have to do, since I'm sure that I folded enough fabric to contain everything, so now I'll go up to the shoulder and check the shoulder measurement, which I'm working with is 14, and 14 by 2, that will be 7. So I'm going to mark 7 here, and then from here I'm going to come down for the armhole, which is 16.5. So the armhole I'm working with is 16.5. That should be around 8.25 if you divide it by 2. But I'm just going to make it around 9. So the next thing I have to do is to come down by 1 inch on the sleeve line. Also, I'll come down by 1 inch here. So this is a basic bodice that you work with. So the next thing I have to do is to check the neckline, and the neckline I'm going to be working with is 3. So this is my 3 here, and then from this line that I've marked here for the neck, I'm going to connect this ½ an inch here up to this point here. Sorry, the line is not straight because this fabric is slightly stretchy, so that's why I can't even mark on it. But moving on, the neckline I'm going to come down by 4 inches. So 3 by 4, 3 by width, 4 by length. Because if you remember, the picture is slightly high neckline. So I'm just going to mark it this way. And then the next thing I have to do is to check the dress length. The dress length I'm working with is 37.5, right? So I'll come down by, instead of 37.5, what I'm going to make it is 30 inch to the 37.5. So that will leave me with around 39 on the dot. So guys, the next thing I did after checking the length is to mark the shoulder to the bust, which is 10. Then the shoulder to the bust, which is 10. The shoulder to the waist, which is 14.5 here. This person is on the smaller side. So the shoulder to the hip I'm working with is 23.5, which is here. So the next thing I'm going to do is on these lines that I made, I'm now going to go back and check and now start shaping up the dress. So the bust measurement is 35.5 divided by 4. That will be around 8.8, but I'm going to round it up to 8.9. So 8.9 plus 1 inch, that will be 9.9. So that will be here on this line, that will be here. So coming to this is the bust, right? B, bust. This is the waist, and then this is the hip, right? So waistline, I'm going to check, the waist is 28.5 divided by 4, that will be 7.12. So 7.12, I'm going to add 2 inches here, so that will be 9.12. So I'm going to mark it here for 1 inch for the darting and 1 inch for the seam allowance. The next thing is to check the hip line. The hip is 40.2. So by 4, that will be 10.05. So I'm just going to work with 11 here on this line here. So from there, I'm just going to mark it down. So now I'm just going to connect everything and then mark it down. If you have your curved ruler, that would be better, but I don't have any of those things, so I just normally go with what I sketch out, and then when I go to sew, I keep on adjusting it until I'm okay with it. So now I'm just going to cut this out. So guys, as you can see, what I did here is to place the front piece on a folded piece of cloth, and then so this is the back, this is the front, and as you can see, I came down by half an inch for the back neckline. If you want, you could go with 1 inch. If you want, you could go with half an inch. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to cut the sleeve. Now I'm going to cut the sleeve. I'm going to cut the sleeve. I have to fold it this way. After folding it this way, then I'm going to flip it this way. And the sleeve length I'm cutting is 10 for the sleeve itself, and then 4 inches is for the flare at the end. So total sleeve length is going to be 14. So I'm working with 10 here. So this is longer than 10. But I'm going to make it 11. I'm going to add 1 inch to make it 11 because I want to use half an inch to attach the flare at the end, and then half an inch to attach this at the shoulder. So now I'm going to check if it's 11 inches. Okay, so this is 11 inches on the dot. So the armhole I'm working with again is 16 by 2. So I'm just going to work with 9 to be safe instead of 8. So I'm going to work with 9. I'll come down by 3 inches, which is here, right? And then on the line of these 3 inches, the 3 inches is normally like a constant. The next thing I'm going to come down to is the 9 inches on this line that I made, which is here. And then from here, I'm going to check what the sleeve width is. That's round the sleeve up at the elbow. So for me, that will be the end of the sleeve where I'm supposed to attach the flare is 12. So 12 by 2, which is 6, and then 6 plus 1, and the 1 is for the same allowance. So from here, I'm going to mark it down to this point here, and then from this point here, I'm going to mark like an S this way for my sleeve. So for me, people make their own sleeve differently. I just keep tracing until I'm okay with it. So I feel this is enough for me. So when I go to cut, I follow one of these lines, and then this is what my sleeve would look like. So now I'm going to cut. Ahead and traced out the sleeve. So the next thing I'm going to cut is the flare at the end. Trace out the sleeve. What I have to do is I folded this fabric into two. So I folded the fabric. The next thing is to divide round the width of the sleeve. I divided it by 3.14. So what I divided was 12 divided by 3.14. So that gave me 3.82, and then I added 1 inch to it, so that is 4.82. So I'm going to mark 4.82 all over at this angle here. As you can see, my fabric is folded on this edge, and then this end here is open. So it's like this way and then this way, and then at this end here, that's where I'm going to cut mine. So I'm just going to cut one sleeve at a time. After cutting this, I'll now use it to trace the second one because I don't have enough fabric. If I had enough fabric, what I would have done is just to fold it this way, and then from this angle here, then cut the whole thing, but I'm not sure this would fit in, or let's just try and see if it would fit in. So the way it's folded now into 4, I'm going to mark 4.8, so that's almost 5. So I'm just going to mark it all the way down. Make sure the end of this is at this point here, and then keep on marking it down. Okay, so this is around that 4.82 mark here. So the next thing I have to check is the length, which the length I'm working with is 4, and then 4 plus 1.5. 1.5 is for folding the end, and then the other ½ inch is 1 is for folding the end, and then the other half from the 1.5 is for attaching this end to the other end of the sleeve. So basically the 1.5 is for the seam allowance. So 1.5 plus the 4 inches, that is the whole sleeve length, that would be 5.5. So I'm going to add 5.5 to this, so that will leave me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Okay, so I'll be working with 10.5 here. So I'll mark at 10.5 all the way around. So now I'm going to cut this out. First, I'll cut out the opening here. I'll just cut and then go back in and trim, because this fabric is too bulky. So I'm just going to cut. So this is the end here, and then I'm going to cut again here. Okay, so guys, as you can see, I'm done. When I finished cutting it, it was like this, right? It was something like this. So then I split it into 2. So one is for one end of this sleeve here, one is for one end of this sleeve here, and this is for the other end of this sleeve here. So as you can see, this is what it should look like here, this. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to shape the dress by giving it the darting the dress, and then I'll come back. You can see I've attached the sleeve, I've done the shaping of the dress, added the darts. But if you look down here, instead of ending the darts the way I ended it here, I left like a space in here, and this space I left here is because if you look at this dress, it has a slit here. So I'm now going to cut from this line down to the end, and then I'll just try and turn it into a slit. So this line coming down here, I'll sew it down all the way and stop maybe here, and then cut an opening down. So I'll do it right now. So this is the dress. I've added the zip, I've added everything. So now to add this slit, as you can see, her own slit came all the way from the beginning of the dress down to the end. But mine, I'm going to make it join this slit here, just the way her own is. But I feel like they split it while they were cutting. But I'm just going to add mine after I'm done with the dress. You can do it either way, but from here. So let me just quit talking and cut. So from here, I'm just going to cut all the way up and try to keep my hands as straight as possible. And then keep cutting and go right into this slit here, right into this dart. I'm going to cut and make sure I go down. Yeah. So as you can see, I've given it the slit. So maybe 7 inches from the end here. So that will be somewhere here. So what I have to do now is to flip this dress back outside, because this fabric is not stiff, it's stretchy and it's bulky. As you can see, the end here where I folded it for the sleeve, it's still really bulky. So I didn't want that bulkiness on the neckline, so I used a very light fabric as my facing on the inside, and if you look closely you will see that it came out neat. Like it looks even better, although it has like traces of white, but it's still nice. So guys, see what I was talking about here? This is the darting to shape the dress. This is one dart, this is the second dart. If you look, see how the dart goes. At the waist, this is the line of the waist, line of the bust, line of the hip. At the waist, you pinch in 1 inch, sew it up to the bust line, sew it down to the hip line. You stop 1 inch before the bust line. So the bust line is 10, you stop 11. The hip line is 23, you stop 2 inches before the hip. So that will be 23, you stop at 21. So then this one here, what I have to do is now sew it close. Sew it close back again. And stop at the 7 inches from the end, and then from here this will be the slit left, and then I can fold it the way I want it to be. So I'll do that and come back now. So guys, as you can see, what I was explaining, the dart here, see where the dart normally stops, you see where my dart stopped here, this is the line, but as you can see I went into this dart and slit it, and then from here I just sewed it down to the end. Stopped here, I stopped here first, and then the next thing I did was to flip open this thing, sew it down, and then I flipped it open like just like this, right? Just like this, and then sewed it all the way to the end. Like I opened it up this way, sewed it up this way, and then came down again this way. So now when I flip it up to the front, you will see how neat it will be, because this fabric is bulky. So I didn't want to fold this rough edge. I will just have to weave these ends here so it doesn't look so rough. But when you flip it to the front, you see it looks neat. Here. So this is what it would look like when you're done. I still have to iron it. So yeah, so you see what the sleeve looks like now. In front over there, and then this is the sleeve. So one dart stops here, the other dart goes to the end. So yeah, so the next thing I have to do is to fold the ends of the cloth, and that will be the end. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to like, share and subscribe. Bye.